So yeah, I don't know if you know this, but it's been almost exactly 2 years since last time we recorded you in my very first episode of 34 Questions, and I thought it'd be fun just to invite you back on to. It's the third year, pretty much, or the start of the third year. Um, but yeah, man, how you doing?
It's 3 years now?
This is so it's been 2 years basically since the last time we did this solo, and it's like the third year. I don't know how you count it. You know how like in Korea they count birthdays differently because it's not like year zero, it's year one, right? So they start like when you're 1 year old when you're born or something like that.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. So they're always like to us in America or everywhere else, it's we all start from zero. So Koreans are really a year younger. I don't know. I might be wrong. It might not be Korea, but
They might be a year older, no? Like if they were one when they're out the womb, so that means they're like a year older
yeah,
when they complete it. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of what's it called? 20-year-old Koreans out there buying alcohol. Just kidding.
Well, the rule is like
yeah. That's hilarious. But yeah, man. Anyways, so yeah, welcome back, and anyone tuning in, yeah, that's what you're getting. It's the start of the third year of this podcast, man, and thank you for being the first person to do it, and just just be down to make it happen. So I want to let you know that.
Thank you, man. Hey, I honestly appreciate you choosing me to be the first guy out. It's an honor, of course.
Right on. You were the first guy who was down to do it, man. So, and it just worked. And it was like a conversation we always have too. So, I don't know if you ever really listened to the whole episode. I haven't yet. Not the whole thing, but yeah, we should do that sometime. Maybe do a live version where we're reacting to that first one.
Yeah, dude, I'm down.
Because I was 31. Now I'm turning 33 this year.
I was actually giving it a listen the other day after you sent me the invitation.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and I was looking there like, yeah, a lot of that stuff has stayed the same. Like I feel like I definitely like stayed on that same route,
No, I got you. Dude, I feel like I've been on the same route for a while now, or at least since I turned 30, I think. How about for yourself, man? You feel like you've been on the same route for a while now, or?
I want to say honestly, yeah, the 30s on, I've definitely been on the same route. I mean, one of the things that I know I've learned or I've been trying to do for a while now is like a Buddhist saying about happiness, and how happiness isn't necessarily a destination, but more a way of travel. And I think philosophically I've been on the same route, passage, whatever you want to call it, for a good minute now. Just trying to better myself.
Yeah.
Trying to, be the best me I can be.
I hear that, man. I hear that. And definitely, destination versus the journey type thing. It's crazy because, I feel like we're raised to set goals, right? And be thinking about where we're trying to get to. When we get older, they start telling us, no, you got to focus on the whole journey that you're going through just to get to that spot.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, we could go into something. We're just gonna jump straight into deep topics right now, but
I love it. That's what I'm about.
I don't know if in the last episode I asked you how many people do you think are happy, right?
Ooh, I don't think you did. No.
All right. Well, let me ask you now, man. How many people do you think in your experience, people you've come across? You don't gotta say any names, but just in your general feeling, you think people are happy?
I think they have misunderstood meanings of what happiness means. Gotcha. I think it sort of goes back to that destination thing. I want to say like a college student, somebody that just graduated college. They think they're happy until they try to enter the workforce, and they're in a job where they're doing the thing that they think they studied for, and after a while they start to notice oh, I don't think this was it, and yeah. So they convince themselves that they're happy, but after a while they sort of start to notice, because it starts to drag on them. There are all these things that are happening, and it's not necessarily what makes them happy. And for a long time they thought that's what it was. I mean, I could definitely attest to that. I was doing stuff thinking that was what made me happy, and I had to like really redefine or define in general what happiness is to me.
For sure. And I think I'm super biased because I'm in my early 30s, and everyone kind of comes to these realizations at different ages, right? Like somebody could learn it super sooner than later. But as far as like what makes me happy, I was able to really set that at age 30, right? Like, okay, I had a clear idea of the things I enjoyed and what I didn't enjoy, and I'm able to kind of like stick to my guns, I guess. But it's I'm still open-minded. It's just that, like, if you're gonna ask me a question, I'm not gonna say no because I don't have a reason. Like I've thought about it, or I've something has come up for me to say no. But yeah, it's a trip. I would call it the maturation. Is that like the process of maturing? Yeah, man. Speaking of that, let's talk about a time where we were not so mature in college. But you went back. I seen that post, man. What?
Yes, sir, man. I'm back in school.
How long has that been?
I mean, I've been going to community college for like the last 2 years. I was going to Cerritos, all with the intent of like getting back to Cal State Long Beach, finishing what I started.
For sure.
And being back now, I definitely have like a renewed sense of like motivation, just because I feel like my first time around at college, like my priorities were all over the place. Like I came from a background of like from the high school I was going to, I had to go to college, like no matter what, like you just got to start going to university, even if you don't know what you want. And that it didn't work out for me. Like I didn't know what I wanted, and I struggled trying to figure out what I wanted, and I dropped out and still not really knowing what I wanted. And just being back in school now, like I'm definitely very grateful that I now know what I want. Like I know what I'm good at. I know how I want to apply that to my life, and now I'm just picking up the technical skills that come along with doing that with developing in the field of communications.
I got you. Oh, you're a communications major?
Yeah, so I'm doing something called intercultural / international communications.
For sure.
It has like an emphasis on public relations and like journalism, and that's I feel like that's a good mix of all the things that like have really shaped me, especially being from like Los Angeles and like being in such a like culturally diverse city like Los Angeles. Like we got a little bit of everything over here. I mean, same for you in San Francisco, but I think we're definitely like in a place of privilege of like being able to be around so many different cultures, and I think I'm definitely like a good product of that. Like I think we're products of our environment, and I'm diverse as fuck. Just and I'm trying to help people understand that. And I think intercultural relations is really a route to helping people develop themselves and understand their environment.
I got you, man. I mean, it sounds like it fits you, like a glove. I'm trying to think of 34 Questions needs a PR person, right?
Sign me up, bro.
No,
I'll do it. Yeah.
I'm on a serious note, man. I'm trying to get better at this, just because it's really hard to ask for help, right? Trying to build something by myself. I've done it. I've tried a couple times. I wouldn't say I've done it, but I tried, and it really doesn't work. So
takes a village.
If you're just waiting for me to ask, well, this is me asking. If
sign me up, man. Sign me up. I'm already in. I don't need to be graduated to help yet.
I mean, you tell me. We can talk about it off camera, but anything you feel like you can do for it, it helps a lot. Like, really, I've just been focused on the recording, the scheduling, the editing. Right, those are like 3 main things of it. But other than that, it's like really tough for me to be on social media, which I don't think PR necessarily has to do social media, but I know there's folks, if you're out there listening, who want to get involved. I want to take social media part off my hands, like go for it. But yeah, I asked about happiness, and it kind of was going into like just career direction and everything. But then like also this conversation of in my mind, right? Like I'm working on something that makes me happy and kind of like fulfills my soul and puts it out there. I was talking to someone about like, oh, why don't you ask people? And I'm like, it's because I think everyone's working on that for themselves, right? But he told me that that's not necessarily true. Like not everybody has that or like knows what it is for them, right? That's why if you don't say anything, how are they gonna know like, oh, actually I do want that thing to be something that fulfills my life too. And it's tough because I know for me, this show isn't about me. But it's hard for other people to see that. So like when I ask for help, I don't want it to come off like, oh, help me out. It's like, nah, like help this whole thing. Like, you know, it's in my mind a movement, but yeah, so that's me asking, bro.
I mean, yes, just to start off, but like, yes, I'm in. But I think a lot of it too is like community building, which is what you've been doing like for a long time, like these last 2 years that you've been doing the podcast. Like you've definitely built a community of people that, I'm not saying that you gotta like ask them for favors, but I was reading this book by Paulo Coelho. I think it's called the Zahir, and he mentioned something that it's sort of intriguing. It's like a community of favors, and you know, like if somebody asks you for a favor, and it's sort of like they owe you one, you know. And there's not necessarily a timeline to like claim these favors, because I don't think like if you're coming like from a positive approach, you're not necessarily like doing something with the intent of getting something back. It's more so like you're doing something because you know this is good, and eventually you're gonna be working on something where you know you do need like, hey, like maybe like, you know, like John Q, like he knows somebody that knows somebody, like let me call him this favor, you know. And it doesn't necessarily have to be monetary or anything or like time wise, like it just has to be like a phone call, a text message, like something. And you know, it's definitely developing community to help like, you know, bridge the gaps in things that we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, man, for sure. And as far as community goes, like I like to think that hopefully that one day I can ask everybody that's been on to come in like a live event, you know. That'd be
absolutely
wild to me, and you know, be able to afford that. But because you know,
well, that's part of the favor. Like maybe you don't necessarily have to be able to afford it. Like let's say you interviewed an event coordinator, that person like, oh, like I know a spot where you could do it like on the low. And you know, all you got to do is like invite people. Like maybe you know somebody else that's like a caterer, or maybe you know somebody else is that you know, like music, or like, you know, there's always going to be like a way to get everybody together. It just has to be on that emphasis of community building.
Yeah, man. I mean, it sounds like you can definitely take this role over, bro.
Yeah. I mean, it's honestly like it's been on my mind like for, you know, years. Like something that I've been like trying to like emphasize in my studies is meaning, and you know, doing things with meaning. And like what I mean by meaning is like getting the most out of your time. Like it's something that I definitely like did in a lot of my projects throughout classes, where it was trying to get people to see that their time is valuable, and that time, if you're not using it correctly, it's lacking meaning. Like, you know, we spend 30% of our lives asleep, but people think that like, oh, like was I wasting that time? Like, no, you weren't. You were gaining something from that sleep. You were gaining rest for the next day, you know. So meaning isn't necessarily like you know, like something you learn from it, but it's something you gain. And yeah, that's has been the emphasis of my studies for a while now, like trying to help people understand that you have to be motivated to pull the meaning out of life, which is not as easy as it sounds, because you know it's I think we like go through so many things in our lives that like we don't necessarily sit down to like really think about like, all right, what did I learn yesterday, or like what did I learn the day prior, or this week, or this month, you know, like there's a reason for all the things that happen. it's just up to us to really decipher that meaning.
Yeah, so you're saying like meaning, you said meaning isn't learned, it's gained, or?
Yeah, because I mean, like if you think about it, I mean, it is learned, but you gain it through like, you know, thinking about it, through like sitting down and like really thinking about, because like it's like another saying, like, you know, people say that old people are wise, and that's some bullshit to me, because I've met some really old people that are not wise.
I got you.
But I think if a person has an experience and doesn't learn anything from it, then that person is not wise. But if they have an experience and they learn something from it, then they're wise. So like, let's say a guy goes to jail, and he's in jail for like 2 years or whatever, and then he gets out of jail and he might commit another crime. Like, what was the point of going to jail? Did you learn anything? Like, no, like you just put yourself right back in that position to do the same thing over again. Like he didn't learn anything from that meaning or from that experience.
Yeah. I feel it. For sure. Well, I mean, we don't have to have any like formal format of this episode just because you're returning, but let me just do it real quick. What's going on, folks? Welcome to 34 Questions. I'm your host, 34, and tonight I'm joined by Mr. Luis Ramirez. He's back in the building. How are you doing tonight, Luis?
I'm doing great.
For sure. Yeah. How'd you like that? Little warm up, I guess. The first 15 minutes.
I love the warm up. Yeah. I thought we were
it.
in it already. I thought we were doing it.
I mean, technically we are. I'm probably gonna cut this later on to be like, the part that I just did to be in the beginning and then have it flow. We'll see. We'll see how it works out. But anyways, yeah, for the folks out there who are unfamiliar with the flow of the show, we usually do some intro, which you just heard. We're gonna jump into an icebreaker. After the icebreaker, we're gonna do a little warm up. After the warm up, we'll get into the twist of the whole interview, which is the Wheel of Fate, and then
I like it.
We'll do a little mantra before we head out to the closeout questions.
Okay.
Yeah, man, the show's changed a little bit since that first time. A lot of evolutions, and it's not done yet, right? Like things are still gonna come up. But yeah. Anyways, let's jump into the icebreakers. Icebreaker. So you're gonna have 34 seconds to do either a word association or a this or that. Which one would you like to do?
Word association.
Okay, for sure. the this or that is new, and I feel it though. Word associations.
Let's do this or that then. If you want, let's do the new.
Now I feel bad. We'll stick to yours. I'm not gonna do that.
All right.
That's where your heart went. That's what we're gonna do. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, create.
Dream.
Easy.
Hard.
Nature.
Technology.
Spirituality.
The mind.
Relax.
Damn, I can't think. This is stress.
Hell.
Conquering.
Art.
Ooh, life.
One more for you. Friends.
Friends. Partners.
Show. All right, man. So after that, I'm gonna press on one of them. All right. You said nature, right? And you said technology. You didn't say nature.
Yes.
You said technology for nature. Why did that come up for you?
I think because they're like polar opposites, like nature is like it's something we're not really in control of, and technology is more so something we are in control of. But especially from what I've been learning recently, I think technology is very rooted in nature, because like everything that we learn, we sort of learn through observation of nature. Like the biological sciences, physics. Like, I mean, you could think about like the apple falling from the tree, like that. That was nature, and that was the development of like modern physics.
I got you. You think there's ever going to be a point where we don't control technology?
yeah, maybe like with artificial intelligence, you know, like where, I mean, we could probably control like the basis of like the programming, but like if we really do allow artificial intelligence to develop, it's developing on its own. So it's definitely going to be out of our control. It's more going to be like more like nature, you know, like just seeing like what happens.
I feel it. I don't know if you've ever tried to chat GPT stuff yet.
Oh, dude, I have not, because I'm terrified of it, but but I've definitely listened to a lot of different podcasts about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I tried it, but I be on it, man. I be on it.
Yeah, I think it's cool, but I just don't know how I feel about it, like from a creative standpoint, where, you know, like people are using a lot of the AI like to generate art, and as an artist, I don't know how I feel about it, you know, like it seems cool, but at the same time, like, is it gonna get rid of, like, you know, I guess our kind of art? Like, is it gonna be a new art, or?
So I think, right, it's gonna be great for art, like especially like handmade or like, you know, just straight work and art, because once AI images have, like, I guess, saturated the market, and that becomes super cheap just because they know a computer made it, like everything that's going to be handmade is just going to go up in price. In my mind, I'm like, people are going to have to pay more for something that was made by a person versus, you know, something that was automated. I hope, at least that's my vision for it. But I think people are still scared of what's happening, so it's like a lot of fear around it. But I think it could only be better. And like, even when, let's say Berkeley, I know there's like jobs are going to be taken away from restaurants and stuff. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of jobs taken away when automation becomes at that point, you know, making our burger, serving us fast food.
Yeah.
But I also hope like the people who have small mom and pop shops are able to thrive, because like we just want that. I don't know how long it's gonna last, but I know the initial resistance is gonna come from our generation, at least myself. Like, I would definitely value, I'm gonna go to the mom and pop shop more often than I would do like an automated McDonald's, even though I still go every once in a while, but
yeah,
not gonna lie. But yeah, so I don't know, we'll see how that goes. That's future for sure.
I'm interested to see, to be honest. I really am. I don't know how it's gonna go.
Yeah, man. I mean, what's a trip is I was just talking to my parents about this the other day, where like I re-emphasized to them like their lifespan, or like the changes they've seen is so wild compared to, like, you know, their parents pretty much. And like the technological advances wouldn't happen for like 500,000 years, right? Like that was like the marker for those things to happen. But then it's become decades, like first decade, second decade, third decade, like more and more changes are happening more faster. So it's wild. Like, I don't know when it's going to slow down or something's going to stop it, because it has to at some point, I think, before like the next technological leap happens. I don't know though.
Yeah.
Like, if we're trying to get to space and like build the technology to actually survive on another planet, that's fucking wild to me.
Would you go if if Elon gives you like a call and like says like, hey, I got a ticket for Mars just for you? Would you go and like be a colonizer on Mars?
If I can bring people that I want to bring with me, then it would be easy, yes. However, I don't think a lot of people that I know would be down. So
I mean, I would go, to be honest. I would be in for it.
For sure, man. I mean, I might see you on the ship.
You might see me there.
But I definitely, like, that would make it a harder decision, you know? And especially when it's a one-way ticket, and like, wow, dude, right? Like, I could spend the rest of my days getting to know the 100,000 people on board. Like, you know, that would be a lifetime too, right? Like, I'm thinking about just interviewing people. Like, I can't interview everybody in the world, but it's something I'm striving for, as many people as I can, right?
Yeah,
that's the goal. But for sure, man, that was an icebreaker. We're gonna move on to the warm-up. Hopefully it goes nice. It's working good today. I've been messing up a lot of times in other episodes.
I'm liking the graphics.
I know, man.
I really am.
Gotta set the mood, man. Set the vibe. My first question for you in the warm-up is, what would you like the audience to know about you?
That I have definitely failed a lot in my life, and I think a lot of people don't like to own up to their failures. But like I think that's one of the first things I tell people, like especially when I'm talking to somebody younger and I'm trying to give them advice. Like I sort of lead with the fact that I have failed, and the only reason I know any of the things I know is because of my failures.
I got you.
Yeah.
Going back to school, this is one thing I think about, is like having those conversations with those younger people. What's that like? Do you feel like you are able to still, vibe with them, or is it just like, no, I'm an older dude and these are young cats. I don't rock with them like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think a little bit is like, yeah, I don't rock with them like that.
Word.
Just because I think I'm going to school with a lot of people that, there's like a few older people that are in my classes.
Yeah.
But the majority of them are younger people. And, I was just talking to my sister-in-law about this today, where, I remember when I used to go to Cal State Long Beach like 10 years ago, and I'd walk around campus and like I'd like run into somebody that I knew from like the rec center, or like from another class. And, like I'd stop and say, what's up, catch up. And now I'm walking around campus and it's just like, I feel sort of so lonely, I guess, like in a way where like I'm just walking in the class and just learning like that. That's basically all I'm doing now.
Yeah, that's
and
wild.
I feel like the intent for younger people is to, get to know people, like get to know themselves. And for myself, I already know myself. Like, I know what I like already. Like I don't figure things out anymore.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. Crazy that you say that, because, I'm definitely gonna be in there, like telling them like, oh yeah, I've failed a lot too, and this is the life experience I've had. And then after that, I guess it's up to them, because I'm always going to be like an open, friendly person. But are they going to want to be like, that guy?
Like I preaches too much. Or like, I've gotten that before. Like some people are usually like tell me like, oh man, like I was just telling you to like invent a little bit. I didn't want like life advice.
I've got that a lot. Dog. It's like, why do you have to fix things, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm just thinking of a logical solution, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely be careful with that, dog.
Yeah. I try to, stay in my lane.
Yeah, no, for sure. Actually, what's it called? Signed up for community college recently, because it's free now. Like that, I like how that's the move. Like community college is free in a lot of places. It just happened in my city. So, signed up. I don't know what I was thinking. I was gonna take, intro to business, like legitly, because I've always had ideas for businesses. I just didn't know how to. Like, I know I could learn on YouTube and Googling and stuff, but let's see if a class, does more wonders for me, right? Yeah. So we'll see if I ever get to that step. I still gotta do orientation before I can sign up for classes, which everything's online. Well, not everything, but the classes I'm gonna be signing up for. I don't mind taking one class a week. Just do some assignments here and there. I think so. Like, I hope I'm not stressed out. I'm doing this for fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, and just like trying to get more education. We'll see though.
Yeah.
All right, dog. We're gonna go to the second question in the warm up, which is, how would you like to be honored? Like, if there's a way I could express the energy you possess, what sort of act could I do?
I want to say just, at least for myself, like I know anywhere that I've been, like any kind of job that I've had, I try to like motivate people to, see life from a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we're sort of trained to like think one way, like for a long amount of our time, or like our time on this world. And I have to like, I don't want to say like specific examples, but like I know that I've had like coworkers that have like come to me like from a depressed point of view, where they're it's almost like they're in a rut, like they don't necessarily know what they want to do with their life. And I have always tried to be like the kind of person that motivates them, to tell them that they can do more, like there's definitely like the capability to do more with their time. Mm-hmm. And if I was to be honored with something like that, like I think as a good motivator, or as like a positive motivator, like if they were giving out medals for motivation, like I would hopefully like want one, because I think that's something I've always tried to do.
I got you, man. Got you. Now we know.
Yeah, now we know.
This question is really just for like everybody that does, care about you, or you made impact on, because I'm sure at some point that memory crosses, or like, you know, you just think about somebody and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna do something in their honor, or like, you know, just in remembrance. Because I don't know, maybe people don't do that, but in my mind, in my mind, I like to do that for a lot of folks in my life, because I think everyone I've come across, I try to remember. Like, it's really hard because there's so many people that you come across, but you know, for some folks, it's like, they don't even trip off it. And like, I know I have a homie that always like, how'd you remember that? Or like, how do you remember this person from high school or whatever? And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I guess the memory is so vivid, and it's like what I valued at the time, which was like the people who were around. And I've had a lot of jobs too, and I think about all those people at all those jobs, and you know, conversations like this, and why I'm inspired to do what I do is because of everybody, every single person that I was able to talk to, pretty much. So yeah, that's wild to me. But now we know, for you, you know, we out there motivating.
Yeah, all day.
I got you, man. I got you. Last question of the warm-up is, on a scale from 1 to 10, how well do you know yourself?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't think I ever like 100% know myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, probably like an 8.5. Like, just because I think like every day we discover things about ourselves. Like, you know, in a certain scenario, like I mean, I know I try to like stress that like I'm a positive person, like I'm a motivator or whatever. But to be honest, like sometimes people test me, and the aggression like comes out. Like I sometimes feel like I don't know myself. I like to use the example of like the different like kind of personalities I have, like when it comes to like sports. Like I'm like a real peaceful person, like just out in life. Like if I'm on the basketball court, I talk trash. Like like I'll be like messing with people. I try to get in people's heads, and I think people notice it too. Like they like see like, damn, like I didn't recognize you when you were playing. You know, like because you know you feel a little bit different. You carry yourself a little bit different. Like it's something that I've noticed, definitely, but I think like I have moments like that in real life too, like where, you know, let's say I'm at work and I'm with a difficult customer, and even if I'm like trying to be that nice guy, like if they push me enough, like I'll definitely like, all right, you want to see the real me, like let me show you, man, like test me, please. Or actually no, test me, like please. Like I want to see that, like I want to let it out every now and then.
I got you. You know, I feel you. You need those times to do it, right? Because like these different facets of yourself is still just you. But you know, it's really what time, I guess, time and environment you're in, for that person or those emotions to come out. I was gonna ask you how many modes do you think you have? Like you have sport mode, maybe. You have, you know, school mode. Like, so in that sense, how many modes are there that makes up Louise, you know?
I mean, I got a lot of them. Like I like to say that I feel like I'm like a man of many hats, you know?
I got you.
Like I think I definitely have like the kind of personality where I'm adaptable.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I've always liked the saying of like, wherever you go, you know, act like you're supposed to be there. Mm-hmm. And I think that comes along with, you know, learning about like the culture of an environment, like, you know, like trying to really like fit in. Mm-hmm. And my modes are like, they're all over the place. Like I'm artsy. I'm like, I could be like a nerd. Like I play video games every now and then. I play sports. You know, I'm sort of into politics. Like it's like I'm into a lot of different things, but you know, I'm definitely, I'm all over the place. I think like I definitely have my specialties, but I think I do like to like be like have, you know, dipping everywhere.
Yeah, no. So I mean that's good too. Like jack of all trades. You know, you have shout out to Jack for that one. But, what's it called? I would think I consider myself that way too. And you know, being a master of none, I'm not there yet, but I hope to master at least one thing. I don't have to be master of a lot of things, but being jack of all trades though is life experience is different, I would think. And it's weird, man. I think being like, you know, we're both from California, and living in multicultural areas, that like I imagine myself how I would have been different living in a place that wasn't so multicultural, and I really felt like I stood out, and or people perceive me in that way, like, oh, there goes that Asian kid, and the only Asian kid in town or whatever.
Yeah.
How things would be different, but I don't want to go into theorizing too much. I know that's not stuff that happens, and
that's an interesting rabbit hole right there.
Yeah. Don't want to go in that direction tonight. But one last thing before we move on. What's your favorite thing about your personality?
I think my humor. I think like no matter what, like I definitely do try to get people to laugh, get people to smile. Like I think a good time is rooted in humor, and I think making people laugh is like an easy way to have a good time.
I got you, man. I got you. You always been funny to me, so
yeah.
Especially when we on our trips and whatnot.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Dude, I feel like I'm always telling stories about you, like all the stuff that we got into when we were younger.
I was like, oh yeah, for sure. You definitely come up, especially when like I'm meeting people who are into the same things. I'm like, oh, there's one time in college, like,
yeah.
But nah, I hear you, dog. All right, moving on to the twist of the episode, which is Wheel of Fate. Pop it up. Wheel of Fate. All right, dog. So I forgot. I think last time I just asked you to pick a number, right? Like that's how we were going about it.
I think you told me to pick like 2 numbers, but yeah.
I got you. That's so long ago, man. Number 22. All right.
22.
Which
nice.
is how much of yourself is genetics versus influence? Like,
ooh.
You feel like you're more like your parents or more like your neighborhood environment?
I feel like that I've wrestled with that my entire life, like because I definitely, like, when I look at my parents, I definitely notice that I'm a lot like them, like different aspects of them that I guess like I picked up, like what I like or what I disliked about them.
Yeah.
But then there are some times where like people will tell me like, oh, you're just like your dad, or you're just like your mom. I'm like, really? Like I thought I edited that out already. Like I thought that was out of me, but
yeah.
I think it's probably a good mix of both, just because, like I said earlier, like I think we are definitely a product of our environment, but our genetics, or at least the people that have to deal with our genetics, are usually around us. I mean, unless like you're adopted or whatever, but I think for the most part we're a good mix of both.
I feel you. When I think about this question, I'd be thinking about like for a person, any person, that percentage of like how much were their parents around versus how much they were around their environment, and like, yeah, it really, if you feel like it's 50-50, that's dope. I think for me, I think about this a lot. I think I would lean a little more to my environment. Like I know there's parts of my parents that I am definitely like them in, but I also find myself feeling like I'm trying to do something, like they want me to do better. So in my mind, it's like, I'm always trying to be better than what I feel like, they're giving me. Not saying it wasn't enough, but just, I think that's what they want. They want me to be better.
Yeah.
And it's, yeah. So that's saying, I forgot the phrasing. With that said, there you go. Yeah, my environment being, a lot of it was media, like as I'm older now, I realize how much time I had spent, in front of a screen growing up, and how much I spent as an adult in front of a screen. But it's definitely shaped a lot of my personality, I think, and shaped a lot of like the dreams I've had of, at least when I was younger, being a fucking rap star.
Yeah. It's never too late, man.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I still love doing it, and I'm sure at some point, like, I guess with the whole music thing, I just want to let me be a one-hit wonder and just don't hate on my podcast after that. But like, I hope I can make like Lil Duval, he made that one song. You know what I'm talking about? Damn. You know that little Duval song. I know you do. I'm looking at the
Uh,
audience. I'm not looking at you.
I probably do. Yeah, I don't know. I probably heard it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in my head, but I can't come up with the words. But it's all good. But yeah, so let me do the follow up to that question, which is, how would you say you're like your parents? Like, I know you said that people tell you that, but is there any specific thing you could share? Like, oh, you're like this and your dad, and like this.
I know for a fact I'm just as stubborn, if not more stubborn than my mom. My mom is like one of the most stubborn people that I've ever met. She still is. And I guess when it comes to my dad's a very like I don't want to say shy, but like a very just like behind the scenes kind of guy.
For sure.
Like he's very I think the word is introspective. Like he thinks a lot. He doesn't say a lot, but like he thinks a lot. And I think that's definitely something that I used to be like. It's something that I've like had to like, you know, come out of my shell, I guess. And it's weird that now I'm studying communications because I always thought like, you know, that was a detriment to me. Like, you know, being quiet, not sharing, has been something that I've tried to fix throughout my life. Like where like there are times where I've been out and I just, you know, I keep thinking like, why am I here? Like, I want to get the most out of this. I'm not going to get the most out of this if I'm just quiet and like in the back, you know? And
damn,
you know,
that's crazy,
yeah.
dude. Interesting thought process being at parties.
Yeah, man. I mean, like at parties, I used to be like the wallflower, I guess, you know, like the guy behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And, you know, thinking about it, like afterwards, like I would wish like, oh, I wish I would have done this. I wish I would have done that. And I think I just got tired of that. I wish like, and now I'm more so in the state of mind of like, I'm going to like, I'm gonna do this. I'm here for a reason. I'm not gonna waste this opportunity.
Yeah. I got you. That's crazy because I feel like I've had some thoughts like that at some point, but I feel like when I'm at parties, what do I think about? I feel like that's an interesting question. Like, what is your mindset at parties, right?
Yeah.
But for me, I feel like I'm just, I think I'm just very like trying to read the room as much as I can. Like, you know, see what everyone's into, see what everyone's vibing. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm like a wallflower, but I'll definitely be quiet at times just because I'm in my zone. But yeah, it's really just like reading the energy of like what's happening, or like where the direction of this night is going. Yeah, it's a trip, man. Like, do you ever feel like you're a social butterfly at parties where like you jump in from group to group or person to person, just trying to like, you know, talk it up?
A little bit, yeah. I think, especially, you know, like the more I get like, you know, liquid courage in me, like the more I try to like talk to people and, you know, like get to see what's going on. But I think I definitely do, at least now, I do love to like learn. And I think like the best way to learn is talk to people, you know, just see like what they have to offer.
I hear that, man.
I mean, I feel like everybody's got something to offer. I think, like, I feel like I just said this the other day where even like the most boring person could be like super complex. Like the way they've developed and the way that others see them as boring, like they might not be boring. Like they might be like very, very intriguing. And that's why I've made like this push to like get out of my comfort zone and like try to talk to people, try to be that social butterfly.
I got you. Yeah, I mean, those people out there you're talking about, I feel like, you know, the only reason why people think they're boring is because they haven't either opened up enough or like, you know, talked enough about what's on their mind. Yeah, that's really what I think it is, because the only difference between the person that's boring to me and the person who isn't is just like the person who isn't just was able to share more or talk more, and that's just me and my perspective. So like if I think a person's boring, it's because, you know, they gave me one word answers or not really like engage in conversation. But you know, like I don't know how many people like to conversate anymore, especially with like the internet being what it is and how the younger generations communicate. I could go into a work story, but I don't want to do that right now. Let's jump into Actually, I think we got time for one more spin. So let me do that real quick. How you liking this format though?
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love the spinning the wheel of fate too.
Shout out to Desi for that one. He's the one that first wanted to do it. Number 15, which is
my birthday number. I like it.
This one's kind of like I said, I think in the beginning, maybe I never told you this, but any question that's too hard to something like that you don't want to touch on, don't want to speak on, feel free to pass. All right.
Yeah.
This one is, what's the worst thing you ever told yourself?
The worst thing I ever told myself. You're not good enough. I think that was something that I told myself once. And yeah, that to me is riddled with like so many like philosophical questions, you know, like what is good? And like, you know, what is enough? You know, when is good ever enough?
Yeah.
I think that was like the worst thing I've ever told myself. Like it's basically ignorance. Like I think that came from a place of ignorance where I told myself I wasn't good enough for I mean, it could be a variety of subjects. Like it could go like from like school, like when I first dropped out, or you know, like finding a job or not getting a job that I wanted, you know, maybe even relationships, like, you know, like breakups. Like sometimes like you or like we try to like, you know, blame ourselves, which I mean, I think we are to blame in certain situations because of our negative perspectives of like doing things. But I think like the older I've gotten, the more I've like come to understand that that's more so like a societal point of view. Like we're telling ourselves we're not good enough because that's what society has told us, or like other examples of society have like shown that that person wasn't good enough, or you know, like scenarios like that. But that's probably definitely the worst thing I've ever told myself, because I think, especially nowadays, like I think like I'm capable of anything I put my mind to, and yeah, that was probably it.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Thank you for sharing. And it was only one time that you told that shit? He's like, you said what? I once said
no, man. No. I mean, you already know, man. Like you're my guy. Like whenever I had problems, like I would go talk to you. I remember there was one time I think I broke up with a girl, or she broke up with me, and like I remember I drove over your house like all pissed off, and like I was just like I was just telling you, and like we were just like, you know, chopping it up over that. But there's definitely been plenty of times in my life where I've told myself like something, at least along the lines, maybe it's not those exact words, but like something along those lines.
No, my bad. I was trying to be funny in a not so funny moment. Cause, you know, I was just saying like only one time, because I feel like it happens a lot, right? And it happens to all of us, thinking that we're not good enough. I think I still struggle with that too, man. Like, you know, and as much as like it seems for some folks, like I remember someone I had opened up about it, right? Like I still have like those moments of, you know, I feel worthless and self-loathing and stuff, and then, you know, someone was surprised, like, really, like you feel that way, or like, you know. And what's crazy to me is that this is a guy where I feel like, whoa, you feel like that, like, you know. So we were both kind of just like, I don't know if he knew that at the time, but for him to think that about me, like I had stuff figured out, was weird, because I was looking at him like he had stuff figured out, you know. And this whole notion of figuring things out, right, is all subjective.
Yeah, but definitely.
Yeah, man. So I think for me, man, it's gonna be a constant battle. Like it's been a battle I've been fighting for a long time, as far as feeling like, am I enough? But I think it drives me, right? Like maybe it's not the best thing that should drive me, but it is a factor. And this is in all, I think a little bit in all aspects of life, that, you know, in my career, in I guess relationship with, you know, my partner and my parents or my friends. Like I would just be thinking like, am I doing enough? Which I'm sure if I asked any of these people, they'd be like, yeah, man, like it's fine.
Yeah.
Right? It's all good. But I always have this feeling like I need to be doing, or like I need to be providing more, or I need to be, you know, just going for the max. And it's, you know, saying it out loud right now tonight on this podcast, it feels scary, you know, at times to feel like I need to do more. But you know, that's part of my journey, right? And there's a lot of things that do bring me joy in life, so I'm not really tripping about it as much as I think a lot of other people are. So that's where I feel like I'm even keeled. Like it's a lot of dark moments and a lot of bright moments too. But
I mean, to sort of like piggyback off what you're saying too. Like fear in itself is, you know, it's just an idea, and it's like an idea that like we feed. So like, I mean Kobe, RIP, R.I.P. Kobe. Yes, he had this interview where like he was talking about, like they asked him about like his pre-game, you know, like getting himself ready for a game, and if it was like an important game, like he would hear other people say like, oh, I'm not afraid, like I'm not afraid of this moment, and he would always admit that like he was afraid, and the reason he was afraid it was because all these moments like had meaning, like had like a good amount of meaning to him, like it meant something to him if he failed, like, or if he didn't do well. And the reason we're afraid is because of that, because it means something to us. So for you to be afraid of something, it's like that just shows how much you care about what you're doing, and like what you're doing with your life as well.
I feel that, man. Thank you for that perspective. It does mean something to me, and it means a lot for me to feel like, you know, I lived a fulfilling life and that it impacted people in a positive way. I don't know why that's like a huge ass priority for me, but it is, and we'll see where it takes us, you know. Good
places, usually good places. When people care about things deeply, it usually takes them good places.
Usually, I hope I'm part of that usual, but we'll see. All right, dog. So for this next exercise, I'm gonna need you to close your eyes. It's the 34th mantra. So imagine yourself in the woods, right? Like we're chilling at a camping site or whatever, can make it to like a deep part of the woods. Think of how would you yell this phrase out? I am blank, I can blank, I will blank. But you're yelling it out in the woods in isolation. Only you, yourself, the trees and stuff can hear you. Let me know when you're ready, and then you can open your eyes. All right.
So the first phrase is I am, right? I am,
I can, I will.
I am capable. I can succeed. I will do my best.
For sure, man. You could open your eyes now. But yeah, I kind of messed up because I was supposed to tell you to open your eyes and then say the phrase while you see yourself in the woods. But it's all good. It's all good, man. I think that was way more powerful. And now you have a soundbite of yourself if you ever need a reminder. That's the phrase. You could set it as your alarm, you know?
No, that wouldn't wake me up. That's too relaxed. It's gotta be like somebody yelling at me, like, get your ass up. Like,
or maybe to sleep, you know, maybe it's a good thing to sleep too. But anyways, thank you for participating. I hope one day you could look back at that and just kind of be like, damn, yeah, that's what I was, that's what I did, and I know what's gonna come next. All right, dog. So we made it to the closeout question portion of the episode, and this time, I know in the very first episode I wasn't doing this, but I got to give you a question from my previous guest. So shout out to DJ Asthmatic. His question for you is, what is one goal for 2023 and how will you measure it?
Goal for 2023. It's weird. I've like gotten in like this weird like sense of like not really having goals.
Okay.
But just, I don't want to say like living day by day because that just feels like unprepared. But like, I think I'm definitely more like in like a state of mind of like being present like every day and like everything that I do. Like I definitely do have like an intent for the things that I'm doing. But I think something I've learned recently is that sometimes like if you set goals for yourself and you don't achieve them, like the pain of not achieving that goal sort of lasts longer than it should. But I think,
interesting.
yeah, but like I think if there's anything I can say is like I think I want to live with more intent. Like if that would turn it into a goal, I want to live with more intent. Like just like being like more present, more available to like anybody and everybody. Just because I think I'm finally at a place in my life where I'm very comfortable with who I am, and I'm not really letting people mess with that. And if people do mess with that, it's usually, you know, those are like grounds for me like to cut people out of my life, you know? And I think, yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to say. Just like be more intentful with what I do with my life.
Sure. And how would you measure that? That was the second part of the question. How would you know you live with more intention in 23?
I think I guess by like realizing like the happiness I'm living with. Because I mean, I know I try to live happily every day, but I mean, you know, not every day is perfect. Like there are definitely going to be days where, you know, it's tough. Like I'm having a tough day. Like maybe I haven't gotten a lot of sleep. I'm being like short or impatient with people, and you know, I'm not necessarily living the way I want to live, like intentfully. But I think the way to measure it would be to just measure how happy I really am. And I think that's a good way to like, you know, bring me back to reality or bring me back to like a balance. Just seeing like how happy I really am. Like, and if I'm like, you know, being cranky or whatever, like sort of realizing that and, you know, putting an end to it.
For sure, man. For sure. Next question for you in the closeout is, what would you like to ask the next guest on 34 Questions? Also a question I like to answer, so
yeah,
get a good one.
What's a good question to ask? Do you think you are appreciating completely your journey, your path? Like that's my question. Like, are you like really giving yourself like are you giving yourself your roses? You know, like at the end of the day, like even after a long day, a good day, whatever, like are you really like giving yourself a pat on the back for all the work you do, all the things you've put yourself through to be where you're at right now?
I got you, man. That's a good one. Let me write that down real quick. Okay, for sure. Giving myself my roses. You know, I think the way I express it to other people, it might not seem that way. But I think like talking about being even keeled earlier, half of it is not giving my roses and the other half is kind of giving my roses. But I do that giving part of roses, I think, more privately, because one, it keeps me humble. Like I think instead of trying to get the roses from other people, like I want to just give it to myself. And that like, I think a part of it, seeing, you know, we're at the 3rd year mark, or like getting into the 3rd year of the podcast, seeing how far I've come, even though I'm not where I want to be yet, is definitely me feeling like I'm giving myself some roses too. Cause it's like, yeah, man, like hella, you know, was able to accomplish that, even though, you know, whatever the end goal might be isn't there just yet. I learned a lot, and I talked to a lot of people, had so many amazing conversations, and, you know, was able to do that. It's crazy to me, because when, you know, starting it off, I didn't know how long I would last and everything, because I've had a few ventures where that it didn't work out, and I kind of dropped it. Well, in podcasting is such a saturated place right now where everybody's podcasting. What's interesting to me though is like reading the statistics of how many people make it to the 3rd year mark, to the 4th year mark, to the 5th year mark. Like that number starts dwindling. Like, okay, to me that's a good sign. If I stick it out, if I do this for a long time, maybe, you know, it'll get some notice. But yeah, as far as giving my roses, for sure, I think I do it privately. And yeah, I'm proud of the things I've done, even though, like, I tell myself it's not enough. You know, I guess, you know, it's a very weird way to think about it. But yeah, so thank you for that question. Can't wait to hear the answer from the next person in the next episode. And then I know I asked you this question at the end of like our very first episode, because it is a question that ties everything together. But let's hear your answer this time around. 100, 200, 300 years from now, your descendants are watching this video. What would you like them to know, or what would you like to tell them?
I mean, I think I remember my answer from last time where I said like they better appreciate all the but I mean, I've been learning a lot about history recently, and I've been learning about like our ancestors. Mm-hmm. And especially like from, you know, like Aztecs, you know, being conquered by Spaniards, and how, you know, when the Spaniards first came over, they basically killed like 90% of the population, not necessarily like through warfare or anything, but just disease. Mm-hmm. And I think about all the things that we lost, like all the culture that we lost in that time. Like, who knows, like we could have had like a cure for cancer, or like, you know, something like some kind of discovery that we don't have now because of all that death. And I definitely hope that, you know, whatever it is that I'm gonna do with my life, whatever it is that I'm doing with my life, I hope that it doesn't get lost. Like I hope that my you know, future great grandchildren or whatever, I hope that they continue this growth that I have, like, you know, set the foundation for.
Show, man. Show. Yeah, once again, I hear you. Any last things you'd like to add before we head out of here?
I want to ask you a question, just because I keep seeing my X-Men t-shirt.
Yeah.
But if you could have a superpower, what would your superpower be?
You know, it's funny. I dropped a bar, right, in the song. Like, I don't know. I know I'm not expecting you to like listen to every lyric that I put out there, but it went making deep connections would be my superpower. That's what it was. I mean, I was trying to relate it to like real life, but if you're asking me about like in general, like in the superhero world, I gotta think about this, man. Because, you know, you only get one choice. But, you know, I think, man, I want to say immortality, but I feel like that would make me be really lonely at some point in life, you know? Because, you know, for a long time, it'd be great to see all these different centuries pass on, but then when human life is gone, you know, to be immortal would be kind of crazy. But I could go on that spaceship and then see how that new colony works. That's true too.
Exactly. You could see civilization colonize the universe, if you think about it. Like you make new friends, you know. There'd be other versions of me, my great grandchildren or whatever. Like you'd meet them. Like
that'd be wild, dude. And I'd be that dude. Like, they can't tell that I'm old, but it's like, how's that guy know so much about so and so? You know, like I'd be a great historian. I think there's a movie like that where the historian was an immortal dude or whatever, and like
I know for sure there's a movie called AI, and it's about like this little robot that I guess humans they develop, and he's basically immortal, and he outlives all of humanity. And then he gets like frozen or something, like, and like aliens come and find him, and those aliens learn about civilization or humanity through him. You know, through his like all his programming and all the information he has stored inside of him.
Gotcha.
It could be you, bro. Like the aliens could find you frozen in like Antarctica or whatever.
You know what I do hope with all this AI technology and stuff, and like the reason why I like doing podcasts too is that, there's this AI that could make Joe Rogan say anything they want, or like have his personality come up and like just take bits and pieces of his podcast because he said everything he needs to say to construct sentences.
Yeah.
That would be sick, man. If like someone was able to do that with what the content that I have out there. And I feel super narcissistic saying that, but I think it'd be cool.
It's good. I mean, the way it's going, like that's probably going to be a thing. Like it's going to be able to like, program a sentence in the exact shape and form that you would say something.
Yeah.
Like you could be like, send a message to Luis, saying like happy birthday, like a personal message, and it'll send something that like only you would say.
Happy birthday, dog.
That's already something. Like it's already coming. Like
yeah, that'd be wild, man. But yeah, dog, I want to thank you again for stopping by. Stick around after the sign off, but yeah, man, thank you. I want to thank all the folks out there. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or watching on YouTube, definitely appreciate your time as well. Remember to, reach out, reach forward. As always, much love. We'll catch you guys next time on 34 Questions. Peace.
Yeah.
And let me roll